Hi and welcome. My name is Wayne Hussey, and today we'll be discussing the Application Security Wizard. Let's take a quick look first at our simple application. Okay. So as you can see, we have a simple application. There's one table, customer table, and we have information in it, first name, last name. As you can see right now, there's no application security on this application. We went directly to this page as our start page, and I have the ability to add, to edit, or delete any of the records in this table. So what we would like to do in this presentation is show you how to permission your application using the Database Application Security Wizard, and to permission the different tables and pages within it. So let's go to our application and look at our database currently. As you can see, we have one table, customers. Then we have a role table, a users table, and a user role table. Since I do this so often, I just created 3 scripts, and I just save them in a folder, and I run them whenever I want to use the Application Security Wizard. The first script I run is the role script. Let's take a look at that. Now if you would like, you can pause at any time on these 3 scripts, and in your favorite text editor, go ahead and type them out, and then you too will have them for whenever you want to use them. Okay, now that we've had our 3 scripts, and if you notice there was a role 1, users 2, user roles 3. That's the order that I run the scripts in, and that way I get my foreign keys all set up correctly in my tables. If we go back to our pages, we'll go into our Tools, Application Security Wizard. And as you can see, there is the authentication part, and then there's the authorization part. So the authentication, we're going to use the database that we created the tables for, the users table. And this is going to allow us to sign into the application. Next, we're going to take the authorization, which is going to allow us what we can see and what we can do on the pages within IronSpeed. The roles table. We check those two. And as you can see, if you were using Active Directory, you could click that, and then you would use your Active Directory accounts in order to permission everything that we're doing. The SharePoint, same scenario, you would use the SharePoint groups in order to permission your application. And then in Windows Authentication, you could use your Windows logged in account on your machine to authenticate you, and then use the database roles in order to permission your pages and your controls, etc. So let's continue. So the first thing it's going to ask us is, What is the table that's containing our username and password information? So we look at the drop down and we can see that our users table. And since we've already ran the scripts, IronSpeed is smart enough to know that we're using the username for the username field, the password for the password field, and the user ID for the user ID field. In the latest editions of IronSpeed, there's also an email field below this. And you would set that to your email value, which is already in our table right here. And once you set that, then you could use the new CAPTCHA feature that's built into IronSpeed. But for now, we'll just be using this version of IronSpeed. And let's continue. The next thing it's going to ask us is, what database table is our user roles in? As we can see, it's conveniently named user's role. And IronSpeed picks it up and it knows that the role ID is for the role ID field and the user ID is for the user ID field. And we continue. Now we come to the permissioning of the pages. We have the option of everyone, and by default IronSpeed sets up everyone to be able to see everything, all the pages. No one, if we check no one means that no one can see any of the pages. Maybe you're building a certain page and you don't want anybody else to see it. Well, then you would use the no one until you are ready for someone to see it. Signed in users, that means anyone that's signed into the application will be able to see the pages. Not signed in. Sometimes you may have where you want your pages to be seen right away from whoever goes onto the website or web application, but then within it you would permission it with this rule. So what I'm saying here is that users that are not signed in, I could say, okay, let them see this page and let them see this page. But everybody else is going to have to use this role here, and maybe it's tech support are the only ones that, and they'll be able to see everything else. So now let's set up some of our permissions. We know at the moment that we want anything to do with the customer table that we want to be able to add, to edit, or show. So we'll leave the permissions there fine. But we know that the role table and the user table and the user role tables, we don't want just anyone in there being able to edit those pages. So we can set it to who's going to be able to view. Actually, I'm going to do a select all here because it's everything but these here. We click the set, and as you can see, it's changed, and now only tech support can see all of these pages. And everyone can see the customer page, the edit page, show page. Okay, let's continue. Now IronSpeed will regenerate the application and change all the permissioning within all the pages that we've assigned it to do. So let's run our application and see what we have. Okay, so here's our application, and everything looks pretty much the same. But if we click on the role, it's going to ask us for authentication because no one signed in. And we've set that only the tech support user can sign in. So we can see that our authentication is working. We can go back to our customer page, and since everyone can see that, there's no problem and they don't have to be signed in. So let's take the next step. Let's say we want some of these menu items we don't want to be able for a person that's not logged in to be able to see. So let's permission these. We'll go back to our application. We're going to go into the menu panel, right click, configure, and then here we can see that we can permission these menu items. So since I don't want anyone to be able to see the role or any of the sub menus, I can just come over here set this to tech support. Only tech support can see the high level, and we could go through each of these too, but they won't see this. We'll do users. Let's run our app again and see what we have. Okay, so in just a couple of clicks, we totally removed the role and users table menu items and all the sub items. But we didn't touch user role or the sub items here, so we can still get to those. So that shows you how easily it is that you can change the permissioning. Let's take it a step further, and let's say that you have a customer, and the customer can add a page, and they're not logged in. So we have that functionality now. But maybe once they've added or edited a record, you may not want them to be able to delete. So how do we get rid of this icon so that they can't click on it and delete the record? Let's go back into our application and look at the show table. And we have two places where that delete record was. The first one was in this control over here to the left. And you can see this delete button. So we can click on that, go to properties, and then for security on that delete button, we can set it to where only tech support can see that edit button and or the delete button and can delete that record. So let's say OK there. And let's go to the second place in the customer buttons. This is the upper section. There's an edit button there. It's not the edit button we want. We want the delete button. Same thing, we go to the security. Okay, now let's run our page. Okay, now our page has come back and we no longer have a delete button up here. And we no longer have a delete button here. So let's sign in and as a tech support person and see what happens. Let's sign in. Okay, so now we see Joe support is signed in. He's a support person, tech support. And now that he signed in, he can see the deletes in both places. And he can see all the roles and user role tables. So that's pretty much it. You can use that, what I've showed you, to be able to hide columns based off of users, any of these icons here. You can hide your menu items. You can hide and show based off of who you want to see, see them. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for watching.